All right. Welcome, everybody, to the first ever Waiver Watch broadcast. I'm Jeremy Miller, a.k.a. J Mill, with my partner, Willie B. We've got a couple of guests we'll introduce shortly, but since this is our first time broadcasting to the world, just want to let you know a little about who we are. We're the guys behind the CFF Lists accounts on Twitter and Instagram. It's our goal and purpose to break down the cluttered world of college fantasy football and try to simplify your life so you don't have to put in the hours and hours of research that we do. So we present that in a list and chart format on a very regular basis throughout the off season and especially throughout the season, so you can keep up with all the players that can make your team and your world a lot better. What we're doing here today is something we've done for the last couple of years. Every Monday, we present to you who we think are the best waiver pickups for this specific week. We target players that are owned on 30% or less, or actually under 30% of teams. In this case, we'll be picking players that were drafted in less than 30% of leagues. And it is a contest. So we're actually picking a quarterback, two running backs, two receivers, and a tight end that we think will produce the best point total for this specific week. So we're going specifically for guys that should be available in your league, but not necessarily for the remainder of the season for this week. And they also should be good long-term plays, but we're looking to help you this specific week. Willie B., have anything to add before we introduce our guests?
No, just happy that we have our first two guests. That's really the main thing. You've covered it all, and we hope that you enjoy the content and hope that you pay attention to it because it could win you a few games, if not a championship later on.
Right. And with that said, I want to give an intro to the guys we have joining us. They were two of our top scorers when we presented this last year in a four-person format. Year one, it was Willie B versus J Mill. Last year, we expanded it to include four total with two guest pickers each week. We'll start off with our guy Farnsworth from the Ankle Biters podcast. He's Sooner Nation CFF on Twitter. A little quieter during the off season, but we know he's ramping up and getting ready for his weekly podcast, the Ankle Biters. Farnsworth, welcome to the show.
What's up, fellas? Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for the consideration. Yeah, we are ramping it up. The off season is a bit busy. In fact, we are scheduled to record our first episode of the season tonight. Owens and I, man, I'm just so happy to be a part of this. This is wonderful. Man, I couldn't ask for anything more to start the season
Well, we
than to be
appreciate
a
it. We
part
know
of
you're going to be
something
in
like
top
this.
form, and with that high score
Absolutely.
you had last year, we're expecting some big things this week from your recommendations.
Well, I don't know about holding me to that standard. That was probably one of those one-hitter quitters type of things. But we'll see what we can do, man. I'm just happy to be here. Thanks for inviting.
Appreciate it, Farnsworth. Can't wait to hear that first Ankle Biters episode this week. Next, we've got one of CFF's most popular podcasters as well. We've got Jared Palmgren from the Chasing the Natty podcast, one of the largest and best out there. Jared, welcome to the show.
I mean, thanks, guys. I'm happy to be back with you guys. You guys provide awesome content, and I've always really been impressed with this contest. You guys invited me on the first week last year, I think, as well, and I think this is a great way to go about looking for waiver wire pickups. Going to help people just immediately. Sometimes we talk about kind of rest of the season value, but again, in CFF, you're talking about looking for guys that are going to help you now and in this next upcoming week, and this is the perfect way to do that. So kudos to you guys for coming up with this format. I'm glad you're making it now a show here for people to watch so that people can see the impact behind it. But again, I'm just glad to be on, and this should be a ton of fun.
Yeah, looking forward to it, and that's really, we wanted to take it to the next level in terms of putting a longer version out so people could really hear the thoughts behind some of the picks and also get the reactions of everybody, because I know sometimes we wonder why somebody was interested and don't necessarily agree that it was a good matchup, but hopefully we can have some of that good back and forth here today. Willie, you ready?
Yes, sir. Here to pretty much defend. I want to say I had maybe 4 or 5 top weeks last year.
Yeah, I think
not,
so.
Don't be
not
shy,
to not to
man.
toot the
Don't be
horn,
shy.
but
Let us know. Don't be shy about it.
and I need to
Right.
avenge the Farnsworth top point. So with that, we do have the first pick, and
That's right.
Jared. So we're going to go with Shamari Lawrence, running back out of
Yep.
FIU, and he's going up against Maine this week. Only owned in 0.3% of leagues.
Wow. Wow. That's a pretty good matchup. I looked as soon as I saw the game he was having last night. I checked all my leagues to see where he was available. So yeah, I don't think you're going to go wrong with that one.
Especially given what we saw last night. The dude
Right.
he's got some speed.
Right. And yeah, let's get that team in for him. Let's represent for Florida International here. And
Yeah, we'll have you move that down a little bit, but we
okay.
can kind of correct that.
All right, we'll keep rolling though, because we want the names to be on the screen, but we want to keep the players coming. So I think it may not be a surprise to people that have been following CFF lists, and it's probably come more from my side than even Willie B's. But I'm going to go with the Hudson Card pick here at quarterback is my first pick. He's somebody that we've anticipated having a bigger breakout season with the move to Purdue, with Graham Harrell over there as his offensive coordinator. Along with the matchup, I like the fact that he's actually playing Fresno State and probably won't get pulled in the third quarter. I think he's going to have a full game on his hands, and will be one of those guys that gets a couple of touchdowns at least, and you'll see him approach 300 yards.
All right,
And he's
so
only
let's
owned by 21%. So let's see what happens. And with that, we got Jared. Jared coming up next. Who you got? What position are you going to go with first, Jared?
Well, shoot, you guys left me a lot of good players on the board here, so now I have to take my time to actually think about where I want to go here. I'm going to go recency bias here. One of the big things we questioned all offseason was what's going on at Hawaii. We know they were going to run the run and shoot this year, which has been extremely valuable for CFF in the past. We have been wondering who the heck is the slot guy going to be there. And it looks like last night against Vanderbilt, which think of what you will against Vanderbilt, like it's still a pretty solid defense compared to like most group of five defenses they're going to face. Hawaii put up 28 points against them. Probably could have had even more than that. The run and shoot was in full force. So I'm going to take the slot guy there, Pofele Ashlock, wide receiver out of Hawaii. He is owned in 0% of leagues. Matchup against Stanford, it's another Power 5 school, so it's not great. But again, we just saw them put up a ton of points against Vanderbilt. Stanford is probably even worse than Vanderbilt is. So I'm feeling like Ashlock's in for another pretty big week here.
Yeah, and I think a move like that, what I like is sometimes you're not necessarily looking for the super weak matchup. I think Stanford will be just good enough versus a team like Hawaii where they'll need to be throwing the ball. Well, it looks like Hawaii's going to throw the ball all game long anyways this year.
Exactly.
But, it's going to be enough competition for Hawaii to need to really keep their foot on the gas to do as much as they can.
By the way, his first name is spelled, I don't know if you saw it, it's Pofele.
Pofele. Yeah, I was wondering. I wasn't even going to try on that one. So, all right,
fair enough.
Farnsworth, we got back-to-back picks coming to you. You got a good advantage here, maybe with two back-to-backs.
On the elbow, and I love it, guys. Go ahead and give me quarterback out of Tulsa, Braylon Braxton. This kid is 16% owned on Fantrax. I love the system that he's in. I think with Steve Spurrier Jr. there as offensive coordinator, Kevin Wilson, I love his offensive mind. I love the matchup here. They've got a stiff matchup in week 2. They're implementing a new system, so I think they get enough run out of him in week 1 to make him CFF relevant. Guys, I got to go.
Who are they playing this week?
They are playing Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Oh yeah,
Cream
the
Puff,
great
Arkansas
Cream Puff. Arkansas Cream Puff. But again,
Yes,
I think he gets enough run to make him CFF relevant. They need him to work, in this system, in real live gameplay. Real bullets are flying. They need as much of that as they possibly can. With Washington coming in, or them going to Washington the week after. So I got to go with that. And for my first pick of the second round, man, this was kind of hard, but I think I'm going to go with Lorenzo Lingard. running back out of Akron, the former 5-star by way of Miami, by way of Florida. He is now at Akron. I love the running back one in the Joe Moorhead system. I think he's
Mm-hmm.
going to feed him, and he has a tough enough matchup. As my brother previously stated, that he won't get pulled early. There will be no need for him to get pulled early. I think Temple presents a tough enough matchup to make this a real game, as we saw last night between Louisiana Tech and Florida International. I think it'll be that type of game, and hopefully he'll get enough run to give me plenty of points on this week's slate. So I got to go with Lorenzo Lingard, running back out of Akron, going against the Temple Owls.
And what's his percentage right now? What's he sitting at?
I think his percentage is, I have it right here,
All right.
23%.
23% drafted. I got to say,
almost
yeah,
24%. Yeah,
all right, a little bit off my radar. So that's we're all learning from each other here today.
absolutely. We love it.
All right, Jared, bring it back to you.
Alrighty, well, two quarterbacks already off the board, neither of which were on my list of four quarterbacks. So I think I'm going to wait a while on quarterback because I think I'm going to be happy with whoever I get here at the end. I'm going to go running back here. That's a position I can definitely see drying up, and I'll admit this is getting a little close to our threshold, but I'm going to take Cody Schrader, running back out of Missouri. He is owned in 29.72%
Yeah, I
of
saw that.
leagues.
I saw that. Yeah.
So we're technically within bounds here, but again, he's going up against South Dakota this week. They're going to want to get him some run pretty early on. I think they, again, Eli Drinkowitz, according to our stats over the last 5 years, has been the third best head coach in America when it comes to producing numbers for their running back ones. Last year was a bit of a hiccup in that department because it really took a while for a guy like Cody Schrader, who's coming up from not the FCS but Division II, to really kind of break in there. But he had some really strong games near the end. It sounds like Drinkowitz and new offensive coordinator Kirby Moore are very, very impressed with him so far. And the running backs coach there has said that Schrader will be 1,000-yard back this year. So I am going to trust the entire coaching staff and its history and tell you that Cody Schrader starts his dominant run this weekend against South Dakota.
All right. I like the background there. Got some good detailed info. Giving me some tough choices here. Still a little bit wide open. I did have Schrader in my notes, by the way. So that's somebody I was eyeballing, and you technically are under the limit, so that's good. I think I'm going to go and pair up at receiver and take Malachi Jones. I'm going to piggyback off of Farnsworth's quarterback pick and maybe neutralize him a little bit there. If Braxton goes off and has a big game, our best guess, and it's a little bit of a guess, but I'm rolling the dice, is that the leading returning receiver, granted he didn't have a huge year last year with all the talent that was there, but three big receivers left Tulsa, leaving it wide open. And in a Coach Wilson system, the new head coach there, we've always seen wide receiver ones thrive. And again, a little bit of a guess, but we think that number one receiver is going to be Malachi Jones in Tulsa. And we like that matchup against Arkansas Cream Puff as well.
I love Malachi Jones this year, so J Mill, great pick, I would say.
Thank you.
Shooting that, I mean, let the shooting begin, huh?
Exactly.
You get a good snipe there, Farnsworth?
Willie B.
Well, we're going to save, since I have back-to-back here, we're going to go a little bit different than what I had anticipated, but we're going to go wide receiver Taylor Morin out of Wake Forest.
What was it? What's his last? Who? Taylor who?
Morin, Morin from Wake Forest.
Morin. Well,
yes.
Yeah. Okay, Morin. Yeah.
They have a nice little matchup coming against Elon. He should be probably only playing a half, but I would anticipate nothing short of 17 points. So taking
Tracy,
that, we'll go there.
The specific prediction.
Yeah, with the specifics.
All right. What's his percentage right now?
His percentage point is 7%.
Okay. Yeah. The other tidbit, if people haven't been paying as much attention as maybe some of us, is we had Green go down with the injury at Wake Forest. There was lot of curiosity as far as which receiver would be wide receiver one at Wake Forest. People are assuming that might be Banks, but Willie B is saying there's room for Morin to get his catches and his targets as well.
Would you say that there's room for more in?
Morin, yes, exactly.
And speaking of making room for others, we're going to go running back here, and Jeremy and I both we were anticipating this guy being the number one running back. We weren't. There was a lot of people in disagreement, but we're going to go. I'm going to go with Austin Jones out of USC.
Is he
And they
legal?
have a,
Wow, that's a
he is
surprise.
20.5% owned,
20.5. Okay.
and they're
That's a
going
good
up
pick.
against Nevada.
That's a good pick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah, we had that discussion yesterday where we were in the group that probably had Lloyd ranked in the 60s, while we saw a lot of people had him in the top 30. Because Farnsworth probably has the same rationale. We all, as Oklahoma fans, have seen what Riley can do to a good running back for college fantasy purposes, which is split the load way too much. So we got a little bit of insight as to which way they're going to lean. But yeah, while a lot of people were really high on Lloyd, Austin Jones started making some noise later into August, and as camp, notes started coming out. So the word had trickled out, but it's pretty shocking to me that he's still owned in under a third of the leagues right now, or was drafted in less than a third of the leagues.
We like the shiny new penny.
Oh yeah.
We love the shiny new penny. We saw that with Brian. I know this is off the subject, but I got to get this off my chest. I've been holding this in for months. I was going to talk about it tonight on our pod, but we saw this with Brian Beatty coming from South Florida. I don't know why people thought he was going to come in and usurp people like Damari Alston, who is an SEC back. He has SEC experience. This guy's coming from South Florida, 100 and 60, 75 pounds, soaking wet.
He's a tiny dude.
Special teams is what I kept screaming. And what do we see? Kick return, punt return. Okay, sorry, had to get that off my chest.
No, that's good. That's good. All right, I like the group of five guys. It seems like I kind of lean towards group of five, so I'm going to take one here. I'm going to go with at running back Marcus Carroll from Georgia State. They lost their leading backs. I think both of their leading backs from last year are gone. They've proven to be a very run-heavy team, even though there is the possibility that Granger could steal some touchdowns at the goal line. Their quarterback, does get his share of rushing yards and rushing TDs. I think Carroll is in line, to take over the workload of the two previous backs that were splitting a lot of time there. So I'm going to roll my dice against a nice Rhode Island matchup for Georgia State and Marcus Carroll at running back, owned by 26% of teams. So I'm pushing the limit a little bit, but he's still a legal pick.
Let me mark him off my list.
All right, good.
He was definitely one that I was looking at as well. He didn't make my top 8, but he was definitely somebody I saw. I was like, I need to put him down. Cut him at the last minute.
Right.
Am I up now?
Yeah, we are up to you, Jared.
Alrighty, I'll go ahead and make my second running back pick. Again, I felt like this is where I think things were drying up a little bit. And once again, I'm going to push the limit here. This guy's owned in 28% of leagues. But I'm going to take TJ Harden out of UCLA. Yep, sorry, Farnsworth, that I sniped you. I'm so sorry about that. I'm so sorry about that, Farnsworth. Okay. I never want to make you upset. But Harden.
Oh, stop.
I have been a big fan of Harden's all off season here. We were just talking about shiny new penny. Like Carson Steele going up super high. He's coming up from the max to the pack. Harden looked really good as a true freshman towards the end of the season last year. Zach Charbonnet, once he was out during the bowl game, TJ Harden came in, didn't need a ton of opportunities to really kill it in that game. Only 11 touches, but over 100 yards. That is efficiency that you cannot buy in a ton of places. I think with another offseason of reps under him, he's going to absolutely kill it against Coastal Carolina. And let's say worst case scenario that Carson Steele is the number one guy and Harden's getting number 2 carries. It's Coastal Carolina. They're going to run the ball down their dadgum throats, and Harden's still going to get his in that game.
All right.
Here's the
Yeah, that's
thing,
going to be
guys,
yeah,
with this running back situation. It's not that Carson Steele all of a sudden sucks. No, the guy is good. It's just T.J.
right,
Harden's not. He's not letting him take over.
No,
right,
Right.
That's
right,
the thing. He's not allowing him to come in and just take over. He's just better
right,
as far as
right.
now. You know,
Yeah, and I think people underestimate that jump from the group of five talent level to the Power Five level, and
especially the MAC. Like people, I don't think people realize like how bad the MAC is compared to the rest of college football.
we
They're
love the
great when
Mac.
they
Though.
play against each other.
We
right,
love the Mac.
We love the MAC, but in the grand scheme of things, the talent level is just not great in the MAC.
Yeah, they suck.
right.
Yeah, they suck.
All right.
Farnsworth, you're up, man.
Yep, Farnsworth with two here. Let's
It
see
is
his next
me.
two.
It is me, guys. I'm going to go with wide receiver out of TCU, Savion Williams, all 6'5", 225 pounds of this wide receiver. 2.5%, almost
Ooh,
3% is his owner percentage on Fantrax. He's labeled as a freak. I think this guy is the replacement for the Quentin Johnston there. I think a lot of people across the college football landscape think that this offense at TCU is going to fall off because of everything they lost. But we got to remember that Chandler Morris was the starter going into the season. And I understand they lost their offensive coordinator to Clemson, but I like the Browns kid. I like him. I think he's worth looking at where CFF is concerned. As an offensive coordinator, I got to go with Savion Williams here. I think Chandler Morris is going to target this guy early and often against Colorado. Deion's defense is going to come in there, giving up a world of points. The offense is going to be great under new offensive coordinators. The guy out of Kid State was Sean Lewis.
yep.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a shootout, and I think Savion Williams is going to eat in this game. So,
You're not
I'm going to
you're not
Savion Williams.
concerned. Who's the 5-star dual role
Tra-
Jojo
player?
Travis
Earl.
Hunter. Travis Hunter.
Yeah, yeah. You're not
Oh,
afraid
no,
Travis
I'm not
Hunter will be
concerned at
locking him
all with
down?
Travis Hunter. No, this guy is 6'5", 225. If you've seen Travis Hunter, he's not a big dude. Uber talented, but TCU has more than Savion Williams, so I don't think that he can key or they can key on Savion Williams. And I don't think they have the defensive pieces in place to kind of accommodate Travis Hunter's skill and allow him to be the dog that he is, at least not
Okay.
yet.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah.
would
I
Take
like,
argue
me.
that I was
Go
going to say
ahead,
I would
Jared.
argue that TCU having multiple other options is going to definitely help Savion Williams here because they could throw JoJo Earl out there and put Travis Hunter on him. You got John Paul Richardson who's
John Paul
been
Richardson,
the
yes,
the buzz
Right,
around camps.
right,
Maybe
right.
that's where they put Travis Hunter.
That's true.
I
That's
I,
true.
I, I like the pick here, Farnsworth. Well done.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And guys, for tight end, I'm going to go with Oscar, my man Oscar Cardenas from UTSA with the situation surrounding these wide receivers hurt and they get in
Good
trouble and
point.
not playing and all the what I mean. This guy has been there the whole time, consistent. I think he's developing rapport with Frank Harris. I like this matchup, who they're playing. Let me pull it up. I had it up.
And Jared, while he's doing
They
it, do you
got Houston.
happen
They're
to
playing
do,
Houston.
do you have
Houston.
any ADP data on Cardenas, Jared, by chance? 'Cause I feel like
Round
he's
20
really risen.
plus.
Yeah, but I feel
Round
like he's
20
really
plus for the
risen.
most part.
Yeah,
He didn't rise too much. I can see if I could pull it up real quick.
yeah. I feel like March, April, May, you weren't hearing him at all. Versus like July and August, you were at least seeing him come off the board in most leagues.
Yeah, my ADP mostly goes through round 20, and he is not listed here, so that tells me that he was still
Yeah.
going round 20 plus in most leagues.
Right.
But you're right,
Yeah.
he would definitely be off the board
Right.
by most drafts for sure.
Right.
16%. 16% is
Yeah.
his owner percentage amongst Fantrax leagues, and he has been getting some buzz here over the past few weeks. But man, I got to go with this guy. I like him. I like how they use him. He's huge, though, man. I don't think we understand how big this dude is. 6'4", 285. That's
Yeah.
doggone lineman size almost. But I
Yeah.
think Frank Harris is going to have fun with him. And again, this Houston game, I think it's going to be another shootout.
Yeah.
Just like the
Th-
previously mentioned Colorado TCU game, I think this game is going to be in that mold where they're just going to be going back and forth. I don't see Houston playing any type of world-beating defense. So
Right.
I like Frank Harris to target this kid early and often. So give me
Yeah, this This is one of the
Dennis.
games of the day, I think. This is a great matchup. I mean, the fact, and it's interesting. You've got Houston now in the Big 12, UTSA moving up to the American. Like, I first thought I was like, oh, this is a great conference matchup, but Houston's moved on to Big 12. But either way, I think these programs are at just about the same level. So it should be one of the best real games of the day to watch too.
Absolutely, I concur.
All right, Jared, let's keep it rolling. Who you got? Will we see the quarterback fly off here, since you and Willie B are going to be battling, for the last quarterback position?
Nope, all four of my quarterbacks are still sitting pretty, and I'm happy with any one of them, so I'm still waiting there. I did have a mini heart attack thinking that Farnsworth was going to take my tight end here. Again, a little bit of recency bias, but you got we have some actual data on these guys now, and the tight end I'm about to take this past weekend led his team in targets, was second on the team in yards per reception, was the sole proprietor when it came to touchdown and red zone action. That is Mr. Mark Redmond, the tight end out of San Diego State. There were
Right.
some buzzes about him getting a bigger role for the Aztecs this year. I think he's going to continue to roll. Again, as soon as they get down near the red zone, they are looking his way. That's everything you want in a CFF tight end in terms of pure upside. Maybe he doesn't do it every single week. Again, tight ends are hard to predict in CFF, but I'll roll the dice on a guy with that kind of role in their offense every single time here.
Wow.
Let's do it with Mark Redmond.
And
0%.
0%. And what's funny, I tried to anticipate it. I had typed Jones in the box first, thinking you were going to go with the Jones kid from Louisiana Tech, who had 7 catches this week. So when you said he led his team in catches, I thought you were going to go with Jones from Louisiana Tech.
No, sir. I went with Mr. Mark Redmond.
All right, there you go. All right, so leaves a couple of spots here for me. I think I'm going to probably get my tight end, so we'll skip around here too.
Tight end run.
No, we're not going to do that yet.
It'll be my last pick for sure.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with a guy who I really feel has been slept on this offseason quite a bit, which is Mumfield from Pittsburgh. They've got a matchup against Wolford. Again, he's got a track record of being a guy who gets catches and targets. He's really sitting there, from what I've seen, as the only guy you might want, as far as Pittsburgh's receivers look this year. So I like the matchup more than anything with Mumfield versus Wolford, and he's 11% owned, which is probably disrespectful to Mumfield. Kanata.
Jeremy?
Right? Kanata? Yep.
Kenyatta?
Yeah, it's Kanata Mumfield.
Yep.
I don't know what kind of friendly wager we could have here.
Yeah.
But I would be willing to bet you that Bub Means produces Kanata Mumfield this weekend.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of wager we could do, Jared. We'll call it a gentleman's bet at this point, so I'll take
Gentleman's
bet
bet for this.
Gentleman's bet.
I'm throwing the name Bub Means out there. That's the one people need to be looking out for.
I like it. That's what we're here for. It has, to learn some things. So that's a name that I have to admit is off my radar. So we'll see how that turns out. Willie, you ready?
Yes, sir. I am ready.
All right.
I'm still anticipating what Jared's going to do here at quarterback, so I'm still going to wait. I'm going to wait a little bit.
Hold it out.
And we're going to go against the grain here. I'm going to go Jaden Thomas out of Notre Dame.
Yep.
They have a nice little matchup against Tennessee State. I know you have the young freshman who everyone, Jaden Greathouse, who everyone is trying to pick up on. I want to see more of Jaden Thomas this week.
Yeah, and I think I was reading earlier, like from a play count perspective, I think it was the Campus to Canton account. One of the guys from there put it out that as big of a day as Greathouse had, like he was still really only in on a limited number of plays. It was also pointed out that might have had more to do with the blowout, and they didn't need to have him in if he is going to be a bigger factor in the offense. But it was definitely something to watch. I think one of the other true freshmen had triple the amount of plays on offense this year. So it'd be interesting to see if Greathouse was a fluke, maybe 2 touchdowns a game. You can't count on, obviously, week to week, but it'd be interesting to see how his play count changes. where Thomas fits in around all of that as well, and how they're going to really end up splitting those up against better competition down the line. So
I agree with Willie that like if you're going to invest in a wide receiver from Notre Dame, definitely go after Jaden Thomas right now. I think he'll be the one to kind of be more consistent on a week to week basis because Greathouse is still battling Chris Tyree there for the slot snaps there, and Chris Tyree got a decent number of snaps there as well. So Thomas is going to be out there pretty much the whole game for Notre Dame as long as they need, as long as the game's competitive, obviously.
all right. Well, I just went ahead and type in my pick at running back for the next move. He's got a
Is that
little
still
bit.
me or no?
Oh yeah, we're back to
It is
Yeah,
back.
you
still
on the
Willie
elbow.
B.
Yeah, you on
Okay.
the elbow.
Oh, he's jumping
But
the
he ain't
gun
going to take a
there.
running
Look at
back,
that.
so
Jumping
go
the
ahead and
gun.
keep it there, Jeremy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
He's
no,
ready.
he can't take my guy, so I won't say
Okay.
it. But yeah, okay,
Quick
go
draw
ahead.
McGraw.
Go ahead.
Farnsworth, I think you have someone that you can pick there. I did change my mind, but if you can, Jared, if everyone goes and checks out Jared's podcast, we were on there not too long ago, and I was listening to him, so I'm gonna steal his guy, and we're gonna
Okay.
go Emory Jones.
Ah,
Emory Jones
Yeah,
this week.
that was one of them.
what's his
Good
percentage
stuff,
at?
Willie B.
What's his
Hi-
percentage at, Willie?
His percentage,
15.53.
yep, 15
15.
point,
We'll call
yep.
that 16 then in our books. Okay.
And
All
they're
right.
going against East Kentucky, and I think Jared said that he might finish in the top 10, if I was mistaken. Jared, is
I
that
So
did.
he's got
I
a
that
shot.
that
Yeah.
that was kind of my hot take is that like Emory Jones has a path to top 10 CFF upside this year.
Yeah.
so?
And he's going against Eastern Kentucky.
That is correct.
That's a good team to get it started with, and probably get a lot of rushing yards. I think you're gonna see more rushing there maybe from Jones than passing.
All right, so now Jeremy, you can go ahead and take your sneaky running back pick here.
Yeah, I got a little ahead of myself, but my next pick at running back is Gabe Ervin for Nebraska. Might be a little bit tougher matchup than some of the other guys have, but I really like what I've heard as far as him coming back from the injury, as well as apparently Anthony Grant really screwing up his situation, where it looked like maybe Anthony Grant, as a really good player last year, might work his way into sharing a lot of time with Irvin. He's clearly in the doghouse with Matt Rule there, so I think it's Irvin's job to lose, and that they're going to feed him quite a bit. So I'm going to roll with Gabe Irvin from Nebraska as my second running back.
All right, shoot, I gotta think about who I want to take here. I started off with 8 wide receivers going into this, and only 2 of them have been taken, which is both a really good thing and a really bad thing. Because it's a really good
Maybe.
thing because you're getting great range of expertise here in terms of where people are coming from with their guys, but also it leaves me a lot of options here to choose from. So, golly, who do I go with?
Don't do it, Jared. Don't do it.
Yeah, this will be crazy if you snipe Farnsworth with your last receiver
Ain't no
pick.
way I'm sniping him this late. I'm going to go with a team that loves to funnel. They don't pass a ton. In fact, they run a ton, but when they do pass, they funnel it to 2 guys for the most part. And they're going up against a team that absolutely gutted this past year in the transfer portal. Give me Javon Baker, wide receiver out of UCF, 16% owned. He's going up against Kent State this year. Him, O'Keefe, and Kobe Hudson were absolutely monopolizing targets last year, just the 3 of them. It's just him and Hudson now. I don't know who that third guy is that's going to pop up there, but I'm kind of hoping that it ends up being that Baker probably gets an uptick in the number of targets that he gets per game. So that's the dice I'm rolling here. There's a lot of really good options left on the board that people could go with, but I think that's where I'm gonna go with here.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. I had Baker on my short list of 8. I mean, we all knew that more than 8 guys wouldn't be taken at any position. So it is interesting to see how little crossover we have with some of them. We can talk about that a little bit when we're finished. But yeah, Baker, maybe I already have buyer's regret of not grabbing Baker instead of Mumfield, but I'm still going to stick, with my bet with Jared on that one.
That's good because the matchup makes it even better. That's a wonderful matchup. Good pick there, Jared. Guys, I'm going to go
Thank
with
you.
my second receiver here. I got to go with Daniel George. I've already got Lorenzo Lingard in his Akron offense. Daniel George there,
Great pick.
the guy who showed up at the end of last season pretty strong. They're playing Temple. The Temple Owls can give up points. They bleed points, and we love that in CFF. Again, we love this matchup with Akron. Akron Zips against the Temple Owls. I'm going to go with Daniel George for my last wide receiver. For my last running back, man, this was kind of hard, but looking at the offseason situation going on at Iowa State, my man Jairil Brock got himself into some hot water. So hot that he just said he just shot deuces to the team. He already knew what time it was. He said, "You know what? I'm going to show myself the door, and I'm just going to go ahead and go on down the street somewhere," which opened up the door for my man Cartavius Norton, man, who should step up into this role. Excuse me, Matt Campbell offense who loves to feed his RB1s. I know the matchup is a little bit cream puffy, but I think they give him enough run in this game to make him CFF relevant. They're always looking ahead in week one because they have the in-state matchup with Iowa, and then Iowa's been kind of kicking their tail here for the past few years, and I know they're going to try to get one, but I think Cartavius Norton gets enough run in this game. He's about 21%, so it's a little bit,
Yeah, yeah.
almost on the verge. But hey, we're still good within our realm of limitations there. So Cartavius Norton, good size, 5'11", 225. I think he's going to get enough run to be relevant.
And who are they playing? It's
They are
Northern
playing
Iowa.
Northern
Northern
Iowa. Yeah.
NOLA.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, I thought that was an L on the schedule. I was like, who is NOLA? But it's NOIA. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Northern Iowa. All right, there we go. So your team is full. We'll get your thoughts on your full team here in a little bit. But Jared, go ahead and let us know who that quarterback is. You got three left according to your math. So which one is it
I
out of
do.
your three?
Well, first of all, I want to give Farnsworth a lot of credit there. He took two guys that I was juggling for a while there with Cartavius Norton and Daniel George. It was either going to be Baker or George on my last pick there, so great value there, Farnsworth. Um, Quarterback, I could go safe here with Braden Shager, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to. Again, I do expect him to pass a ton, but he is also a statue. He's not going to run for anything there. So I'm not going to win this competition if I'm grabbing a statue at QB that I'm just hoping throws 4 touchdowns against Stanford. I'm going to go and take a guy who I talked about Emory Jones. I've talked about him finishing as a top 10 QB. I'm going to take another one of my hot takes as a guy that has the potential to finish top 10 throughout the year. Give me Casey Thompson, quarterback out of FAU there, going up against Monmouth this week.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to want to get him as many reps as they can there. He has been, kind of up and down in Nebraska and Texas the last 2 years. He's back with Tom Herman. I think that they're absolutely ready to light it up. They got two really good options at receiver there in LeJontay Wester and Burton as well. I think that they're in for a really, really, really strong performance there against Monmouth. And he's
Yep.
got that dual threat ability. That's how I'm going to win this. If I took Shaker, I feel like I was destining myself here for second or third place in this competition. With a dual threat guy like Casey Thompson, I feel like I could do it. And I'll also throw out there that DJU was my other quarterback that I was thinking about
Oh,
taking here.
interesting. Okay. Yeah, I like the Thompson pick. Looked a little sketchy there, prior to this week when he was finally named QB1. I know we all assumed it would be Thompson's job when he transferred. I kind of personally felt bad for Richardson because he had also transferred to FAU from Central Michigan, which looked like a good move for him. And Coach Herman kept it close to the vest until I think last week when they officially announced Thompson as QB1. So I think now Thompson's back where we all thought he would be, when before we knew there was such a tight quarterback competition. But like they say, competition, the cream rises to the top. So it's probably good that Thompson's got somebody in his heels. He's not going to want to mess up. Herman's a great coach. They can pull a lot out of him. So I think that's a really good pick at quarterback there, Jared.
Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to finish it off here with, one of the homer picks, and I'm from Oklahoma, but living in New Jersey. So we'll go with the tight end for my middle son's former team. The tight end at Rutgers football, Johnny Langen, the converted quarterback who in his first year as a full-time tight end last year had 60-plus targets. I think that it gets up to at least 80 or 90 this year as he's more comfortable in position. You'll see his 30-plus catches turn into closer to 50. And he's a guy that's proven, he's a tough guy. He's durable. And Rutgers, they've got a good running back with Brown, but the quarterback and the receivers are a little bit questionable. And I always feel like, if you've got a little bit of a question at receiver and a quarterback who's trying to build his confidence, the tight end's the guy they look for. So I like Johnny Langan at Rutgers as one of the highly underrated guys, not just for this week, but also for the season. And they're playing against Northwestern. It's decent matchup there, between the two teams, but nothing either way in terms of too tough or too easy. So I think you clearly see Langan play the whole game, and wouldn't be surprised to see him get 6 or 7 targets. Willie
That's
B.
not bad, not bad.
All
To
right,
round it out, I'm going to go Tanner Kozel from Ball State with Brady Hunt. I guess in a walking boot, they say. I'm not sure if he's still practicing yet, but he should be the lion's share of their tight end system that they run, the two tight that they run. But I think that he definitely should be your double-digit tight end this week.
All right, who are they playing, Tracy? Willie?
They're playing Kentucky.
Actually, okay. They've got a real matchup.
Got a real matchup this week.
Okay. Yeah, week 1 is so weird. And for you, let's touch on that a little bit, guys. We talked about it earlier a tad bit, but when you're seeing guys play these FCS schools, what's the general strategy you apply? We'll start with you, Jared, and then Farnsworth. Give us your 2 cents when Jared's finished here. What's the best strategy when facing the cream puff and deciding on whether to play the guy going against the cream puff or a team with it's going to bring some good competition?
I'm less worried about it in week 1 than I am in the later, again, especially SEC teams where you'll see them playing cream puffs in week 11, week 10, stuff like that, because everybody is stuck in that situation kind of week 1 through 2, week 1 through 3, where there's tons of cream puff matchups going on right there. Obviously, if you got G5 guys, if they're playing against a Power 5 opponent, I would try to avoid that as much as possible, unless there is a specific situation like I have with Ashlock going up against Stanford, where they just proved they can do it against a Power 5 opponent. So I feel pretty good about that. Versus a guy and again, I don't mean to pick on your pick here, Willie B, but Tanner Koziel, I like the thought in terms of if Hunt's out, you go for Koziel, but Kentucky's got a really good defense, and they're going to shut down Ball State, so they're going to have very limited touchdown opportunities there for Koizal. So I would avoid stuff like that. Running backs, we always worry about taking out some of our guys early for the Power 5 guys. Quarterbacks, definitely a worry there. You're kind of hoping that they get their 4 touchdowns before they get taken out of there. Running backs tend to stick in just a little bit more, especially if they are kind of the workhorse back for their teams. So I'm not as worried about guys like Cody Schrader and TJ Harden, especially since they are kind of newer to that workhorse role. I think they'll get plenty of run early on, and you're hoping that they're hyper efficient before they are taken out.
Gotcha.
Right before Farnsworth here, I will say I do win this competition weekly for a reason. I respectfully disagree, but we'll see. We'll see. Farnsworth, go ahead.
Man, I'm picking fights with everybody to hear today.
All right.
That's funny. Nice. Yeah, Farnsworth, anything to add on what Jared said in terms of what you look for, with the teams playing really soft teams, or,
Absolutely.
should you pick that guy?
Absolutely. And doing this for a while, almost 2 decades, every situation is different. And you kind of want to have a feel for the coaching staff and what they like to do. Some coaches like to leave those players in. Offensive-minded coaches tend to do that. You saw that last night with Lincoln Riley. Caleb Williams was able to get his 4 touchdowns before they got him out of there. Every situation is different. It just depends. When the G5 guys play cream puffs, they have no reason to kind of sit guys, so they want to play a little bit longer, So, again, every situation is different depending on the coaching staff and what they like to do. Sometimes you just have to have a gut feeling about something, because you'll have a guy, let's say you have a running back with 8 carries, but it may be 8 carries for 102 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Right.
You definitely don't want to miss out on that. Or you can have a running back with 5 carries for 52 yards and no touchdowns, and he doesn't play in the last 3 quarters. So you kind of got to have a feel for the coaching staff and what they like to do. What's the next week's game like? Who are they playing next week? What are they looking
Right.
at?
True.
What's their schedule like? So I think there's a multiplicity of things that you want to take into consideration when thinking
Yeah.
about playing quote unquote little sisters of the poor or cream puffs.
Arkansas
Bishop
cream
Sycamores
puff.
of the world.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
East
All
Ponce
right.
Creek State. Yeah.
So with that, since you guys just gave a little some thoughts there, we'll bounce over and kind of give our general recap. In a little few succinct words here, Willie B. Like your general feel for the team you got today, because it was a little different. We had to go live. We were a little bit more under the pressure than being. Usually we do these on a Sunday while we're sitting around with no time. No time limit to pick, but how do you feel you did under the pressure today?
No, I think we did pretty well. I like that it's week one, so everything's a little bit more wide open. I think I had a list of I think nine quarterbacks, went 15 on the running backs and receivers, so it was kind of wide open for me. I had sights on Emory Jones right away. My actual
Right.
second pick would have been Jaden Rashada out of Arizona State, only because I felt like if he's going to start, they're going to have to play him. They want to get that real long look, but
Right.
luckily I didn't have to go there. So
All right.
happy with Emory Jones for
All
sure.
right.
And then
And
getting Austin Jones and Lawrence. I mean, wow,
yeah,
I
that's
feel
good.
really good.
So let's go the other way real quick. Everybody will ask the same. Any player on your list that you're surprised wasn't taken that you would have taken as like your final guy if you had one more pick remaining? Like who are you shocked to see left on your list?
Man, I've got Jaden Rashada on my list with him winning this quarterback battle.
Okay, so that's two of you. Two of you have Rashada.
I think they use him as much as they possibly can this week to get him as much experience as they can get him going into the season. I can go on and on about players, but that's just one at the quarterback position. You know,
Okay, Jared.
I could not disagree with you more, guy, about the Jaden Rashada thing. Arizona State's given up for the year already. They self-imposed a bowl ban on themselves this year already, or
I
at least
saw
the
that
school
earlier.
did. So they got nothing to play for now. I think this is going to be a historically bad offense for them
Hmm.
this year. I think next year is going to be the year where you kind of see that jump for Arizona State this year. I would be a little wary of the Sun Devils this year. And again, in terms of the guys, I was kind of surprised didn't come off the board. Nobody really shocking to me. I would probably say the most surprising to me, again, I mentioned DJU for the quarterback earlier, going up against San Jose State, but I also throw out Samuel Brown Jr., or Jr., I say the fifth. He's the fifth. Running back out of Rutgers there. They got a
Right.
pretty
Right.
nice little matchup against Northwestern. Both teams are going to be playing it slow, running the ball a ton.
Yeah.
It's going to be a very close game. He'll be heavily involved.
Yeah, I agree with that. He emerged last year. The only reason like it was between him and Irvin for me, but I knew I was going to go Langan at tight end, and I really didn't want to double up on Rutgers players for the first waiver watch. So, I thought Langan, might be the more impressive from a positional standpoint and what he might net me over the rest of your tight ends. So we'll see. And just for everybody watching, like typically a good point total in this contest is if you're getting 90 or above, you've got a pretty good team here. And that really breaks down as you want a 20-point quarterback, you want 15-point running backs and receivers, and if you can get 10 out of your tight end, that's a bonus. But that's typically where you can see a nice score of 90, which is the minimum we shoot for. We're looking for those 20-point quarterbacks, the 15-point running backs and receivers, 10-point tight ends to help you guys out. But we do have weeks where guys will get 100, 110. I think Farnsworth, as we mentioned earlier, had 120 plus one week. But just so you know what the
144.
gauge is here, what we're typically looking for, 90
hold
point
on, J Mill.
turnout is good.
Hold on, Willie's got something to say. What was that, Willie? How
What
Yeah,
much?
was it?
it was 144.
Yeah, we got to get that right.
144.
Yeah.
144. So,
Make
But
sure we
yeah,
get that right.
I also wanted to say this though, real quick. I know Jared's not picking on me, so I'm not picking on him. What we really our basis of the waiver wire was not long. It doesn't have to be a season long pickup. This is something
right,
if
Oh,
you're
sure.
in a pinch, injury, whatever. So
right,
going back to Rashada, the reason why I say that No, he may not be the long-term solution, but this freshman should play and play reasonably well against South Utah. I would hope so.
That's
And
true.
I
so,
would hope so too.
yeah, so then if you don't want to hold him, dump him, and then come see us week 2, and we'll give you someone else. That's what this is really for.
That's a
But
good
the
point.
situation,
Fair point.
I'm sorry, but the situation would lend you the notion that since there's a self-imposed bowl ban, they can do anything they want. They're not playing for anything. I think they're
Nothing to
going
lose. The nothing to lose
yes,
Right,
approach.
nothing to
right.
lose. I think they're going to experiment to the max with this kid and try to get him as much experience as they possibly can. They're not worrying about winning and losing games. They're not going to a bowl game anyway. So why not let him just let him loose?
And
That would
based
make
on
sense to me.
and based on what how Coach Herm left it, I mean, if it takes it, run it up on whoever. I mean,
Right.
that's how I would feel with the kids and
If
let them
if
know.
if if next year is the year, then this year is the trial year. Then hey, we're going to do everything that we possibly can to get this kid ready for next year.
And then every week is our bowl week.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely. I don't
All
understand. I
right.
mean, you got
We'll
Jalen
see.
Milrow.
I'm excited to find out who's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll find out. We've got. Hey, the good thing about this, I mean, it would not be an exciting discussion if we all agreed on everything. So we've got the debate about which Pittsburgh receiver is going to shine, whether or not Arizona State's quarterback is going to be worthwhile or not. And we've got a
But
few things that we also agree on. So you guys
and
can
they
take
and then
these nuggets and apply it to your research and figure out who you want.
and with that sense, is that a reason why everyone's down on Scatabo? Everyone was high on him last year. So is that a reason why they're not now? Is because of this self-imposed ban, or were they just wrong last year? Jared, what do
Well,
you think?
I mean, Scatabo coming into, I mean,
he's an
maybe I
FCS
misinterpreted you.
transfer, isn't he?
I
Yeah.
mean, he transferred up this year,
Right.
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 so like they wouldn't have been high or low on him last year.
No, well,
Sorry, I guess I
he
misunderstood you.
yeah, he was definitely on my radar early, and I was
You.
hearing the whispers and everything, but now that the summer and fall have hit, I don't see it as much at all.
Yeah, I think you're saying
No, yeah.
early in the off season, people were higher on
Yes,
Scatterbo.
that's what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean.
yeah.
Oh,
Early,
yeah. No,
that's what I mean.
100%. He's definitely dropped throughout the offseason. I personally never really bought into it too much because, again, it's one of those things where he's coming up from the FCS. Tevin
Right.
White is a 4-star running back that they do have there, and I think he was going to get involved no matter what. Kenny Dillingham typically runs a more committee approach than anything else. Yes, you can point to Bucky Irving last year being CFF relevant at times, but like Irving was like uber efficient at times, and I just don't know if Scatabo is really going to be that kind of dude over there. I stayed away from the Sun Devils all year. I didn't really touch any of their receivers. I didn't touch any of their running backs or their quarterback situation. Really, I think maybe I took Bourget once in like a super late draft, just as like an upside. Like, hey, maybe they get something going this year. And I was wrong on who would start. So take my thoughts for what it's worth.
All right.
Farnsworth, did you have a running back? I'm sorry, I meant to get him in here
Oh
as far
man,
as
I got so
his
many
running backs.
players to. I got a
players
list of
remaining.
players
Yeah.
here. You got Bradley Rosner out at NC State. I understand he
Okay.
came into camp late around July, but he's a dude. You got Jalen Milrow. Is no one a believer in Jalen Milrow? I think he's won this job the way Nick Saban is talking. I think he can be a straight dog with his athletic ability. I mean, there's just so many players. Caden Salter in that system out there at Liberty. Jamie Chadwell's system out there at Liberty. So many running backs and wide receivers. Dejon Stripling, he's at the X
Yes. Yes. Yes.
up in Stillwater.
Yeah.
I mean, what's he
That's a
look
good
like?
one. Yeah. I don't know. Was dribbling under 30%? I didn't even think to
Yes,
look
he
at it.
He
is.
should
Yeah.
Oh
be.
yeah,
He should
oh
be.
He
yeah.
Yeah.
He,
is.
he was not drafted a ton this year.
Yeah. And I
He's
just
on my
took
list.
him.
Absolutely.
And I just took him. We have the CFF lists. Follower league that we started where we've got a best head-to-head best ball with 24 owners that's 33 rounds deep, and I think actually I just drafted him in round 23 of a
Wow.
24 owner best ball, and he's from the latest depth chart I saw. He should be wide receiver 1 at Oklahoma State,
He
which is
is.
usually a
Yes.
good position to be in. So Stribling
Yes.
could be a big underdog. That's one to keep an eye on. A couple of names I'll throw out. I like a lot of the Temple guys. I like Sadie, the running back there. They're going against Akron. I think Sadie came on really strong, to finish 2022, and you're only going to see him improve as because they have multiple options in terms of what they can do at Temple. With that said, EJ Warner is also out there, which was one of my choices at quarterback between Card and Warner. Then jumping down to the tight ends. You've got Span Ford,
Oh yeah,
at
Yep,
Minnesota,
I was looking at him.
yeah, he's on my list.
versus
Yeah.
Nebraska. So there's a couple more names that I'll throw out. Surprisingly, there's depth on the waiver wire if you feel like you really messed up in your draft this year to make some corrections before week one gets underway.
Well, that's the great thing about college fantasy. I was telling some guys about this the other day that like NFL fantasy, it's such a saturated market. Everybody knows the names. Everybody knows like kind of who to target. And if you really mess up your draft, a lot of those leagues are already so deep that it's so hard to kind of fix yourself for the
Right.
year. If you go
Right.
down a couple games, that waiver wire is not going to save you. College fantasy, it's all about the waiver wire. You can have a really, really good draft, but if you're not working that waiver wire each week, you could be in trouble. You could
Right.
have a
Yeah.
terrible draft, but if you know who to target every week off the waiver wire matchup wise, you can absolutely make it to the playoffs.
Right.
And again, that's what makes it so much fun, in my opinion.
Right. For the newcomers, especially those in leagues that have a budget for your waivers, very early, try to get kind of a rough idea of like what percentage of a person's total budget are they willing to spend on a big player, because that money might not help you at the end of the season like it's going to help you in the beginning of the season. So if you see somebody you really want, after next week is when those players are going to go for top dollars. So don't be shy on how much money you throw out there as far as a percentage of your total budget. If for you first time guys playing with a waiver budget, you might want to spend a third of your total budget to get the guys that really shine here after week one.
Absolutely.
I had a quick one. What were the thoughts on Roderick Robinson for Georgia being one of the healthy backs this week? Is that a negative? Is that a negative for this week?
As the resident Georgia fan, he's third on the depth chart right now, even with all the injuries.
Okay, I understand.
Even with all the injuries.
But are those other two guys going to play? Is the question, and how long?
No, Andrew Paul's going to play, and then Cash Jones will be ahead of him. He's third on the depth chart even with the injuries. Like if Kendall Milton plays, then he's fourth on the depth chart.
Okay.
Like he's a really good running back. He's still a freshman though. It is still a talented running back room. He's not going to be the guy week one.
Okay, the thing about Georgia, though, go ahead, Willie.
No, go ahead.
The thing about Georgia, and Jared can co-sign this, this injury situation just reinforces their philosophy, which is just to spread the ball around. We haven't seen a CFF relevant running back since my guy in Cleveland now. Well, even I mean, that year when Swift took over, he was kind of so-so. But before, Nick Chubb was the guy before he got hurt, who was kind of the bell cow type of back, and you had Todd Gurley before him. But ever since then, it's been kind of a spread this thing around, and this injury situation just reinforces their philosophy. With just the
only way you're really going to get a CFF relevant back out of Georgia is if they're going to be kind of in a Kenny McIntosh role where they're able to run it between tackles and catch out of the backfield. And right now, I don't think Georgia has a back that they feel comfortable with who can do both. Certainly not Roderick Robinson. I know for a fact they're molding him into a hammer over there. He does not have the receiving ability that he would need to truly be CFF relevant over there.
Right. All right. Well, we probably will wrap things up now. We had a good time here on our first ever recording of the Waiver Watch. And I want to give you guys a chance to plug both of your extremely informative and wonderful podcasts. We'll start with you, Farnsworth. Tell us how the Ankle Biter schedule is going to be this year.
Well, we're going to be a weekly podcast as we are during the season. We're recording for the first time this season tonight. It should be out possibly Tuesday morning. That's usually the schedule. It's me and my co-host Owens. We talk college fantasy football generally. We'll talk some college football, but it's from a college fantasy football perspective, where we talk everything CFF. We give you start and sit. Does Jared also? We're just glad to be a part of the community.
Good. And then I know everybody can find you on Twitter at Sooner Nation CFF.
CFF at CFF Nation. It should be
CFF Nation.
CFF
Okay.
Nation. Yeah,
All right.
hit us up.
And I think the handle, though, is Sooner Nation CFF, if I'm not
Sooner
mistaken.
Nation CFF is the handle, and the at CFF Nation if you want to find us directly.
There you go. And the link to the podcast will be there. I know you'll be promoting that once that's ready to go.
Absolutely.
Jared, you've got the Chasing the Natty. We're through with the off season. What's your routine going to be as the season goes on here?
Yeah, we're moving to 2 shows a week. Monday morning, we're still going to keep our Monday morning show. That'll be dedicated to waiver wire pickups, kind of recapping what happened the previous week, things that we learned in general. And then Wednesdays, we'll be releasing a second CTN episode. That is the more interactive episode where we'll be putting out weekly a tweet for you guys to give us your sit start dilemmas that you are struggling with leading up into that upcoming week. And so we'll be taking on 2 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, and 2 tight end questions. Oh, and 2 flex questions every single week. It'll be me and Justin from Volume Pigs who will be taking that on every single week. So that's going to be absolutely phenomenal. And then in terms of what we got going on campus at Canton and everything, we're excited to announce that we have actual projections, weekly projections going up every single week to help you with your sit starts. We'll have some rankings going on. Lots of great stuff going on over there. So make sure you go and subscribe over to campus2canton.com for all of that great stuff.
All right. Thanks again to Jared and Farnsworth for joining us. You can't go wrong tuning into both of their podcasts all week. It's great commuting entertainment, great information. It'll definitely elevate you to the top of your leagues. Make sure to keep tuning in for the CFF list content. We're going to be presenting the perfect lineups every Sunday night. We'll have the waiver watch every Monday. We make our picks among the top year-to-date players on who you should sit and start also on Wednesdays. And we'll do our best to keep you up to date with the injuries, even though we know that's tough in college football. But for now, if you watch this, we appreciate you tuning in for our first ever podcast, and couldn't be more excited to give you the extra details that you got about all the players that we think are going to be your best week 1 options. So with that, we'll see you guys next week.